Well, welcome everyone. I can't imagine anyone more perfect for conversation and dialogue than our guest today, Miss Wu Man, who has dedicated her life to collaborations in music and cultures, East and West, old and new. So I'd like to start, might you give us a brief introduction to the pipa, how it's played, and its background and place in both Chinese and Silk Road cultures?
Wow, should I bring my instrument, right?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry to make you move right in.
Yeah, move right in. Okay. Well, I'm moving, you can talk.
Yeah.
So here is. Well, you know the instrument, right?
Oh, well, no.
I'm sure a lot of you know, right? With a very long history, actually, from Persian, introduced to China 2,000 years ago. This version, pretty much 19th century version, Qing Dynasty, with the 4 strings and the play with the fingers, 5 fingers on the left, on the right hand, and hold the instrument straight. If you see the older painting, there are a lot of different instruments, and also pipa hold horizontal. That was the older version, Tang Dynasty version, and somehow Chinese developed through 1,000 years and developed the play. Right now, this posture and with the hands, both hands, very much is related with a lot of Western instruments like European lute, Middle East oud. Banjo, guitar, it's the same family. Yeah.
That's great. And I've read how you grew up in a family very supportive of your musical talent and your study of the pipa. Might you share with us how your musical road began, especially since you grew up during the Cultural Revolution? Or you might want to answer the question, how was it like to study with teachers such as Lin Shicheng in a pipa lineage stretching back at least till the mid-19th century, and also your teacher Kuang Yuzhong and others who did so much to promote the pipa in 20th century China?
Well, I grew up, basically my parents loved music, but they're not musicians, but they love music, especially traditional music, so they encouraged me. They picked the pipa for me. And so that's how I started. Very much like any Chinese family, right? Parents basically made a decision. My teacher, when I in conservatory in Beijing, in middle school, I went to Beijing, and Kuang Yuzhong, my teacher Kuang Yuzhong, he taught me mostly a lot of technique side of the instrument, how to play the instrument. And then later on, when I studied at my graduate school, I studied with Lin Shicheng, which is he's the figure of old school of pipa playing, which is from Pudong style. So, and then I have learned with Liu Dehai and Chen Zheming, that's all pipa master in China. So very much, to me, I think very fortunate. I have the best teacher.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I learned from them since very young, so kind of I have all those, like, they nurture me in some way to understand this instrument well. That's how I'm here today.
Good, that's great. That's great. And you know, I've read about you in various interviews and other materials, and I feel that Chinese music and culture fills your heart and soul. While at the same time, you've lived in the USA for 25 years now.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, how has the American music scene or any other aspect influenced you deeply, living here for so long, living here?
Yeah, we're gonna play some clip later. I think a lot of music influenced me. When I came to here 25 years ago as just a young student, graduated from school and only know about Chinese music. And then first time I was in New York City, and it was shocking. Like so many things happening there. All the clubs, you can't have any kind of coach background musician exist in New York. I remember I played with a jazz band in downtown. It's a jazz club, very early years, and also work with a musician from Japan, from Korea, from Africa, and also work with a composer. I would say the whole society in this country sort of influenced me as how I'm thinking be a musician. So when I was in China, very kind of a focus, very in this box.
Okay.
Because I'm Chinese, I play this traditional instrument. I'm there right here. But when I moved to this country, and suddenly I see so many things in life, in music life. So I'm kind of like jumped out to the box. Yeah, a lot of, and that's why later on I have so many collaboration. I'm interested all kinds of music. Yeah.
That's lucky. So it's like a whole new world.
Yeah, it is. Whole new world.
A whole new world. Well, I know you've made so many distinguished contributions to the music of the world, both as a soloist, ensemble player, and many collaborative projects. But I know it's hard to choose, but can we hear some of your favorite collaborations, and you could tell us why so? And there's too many to choose from.
Too many. We just yesterday just popped up a very recent. I think here we're gonna hear the work with the Philip Glass. A few years ago, Philip Glass write a piece for pipa and the Philip Glass ensemble. And this is the project called Orion, which is in Greece, the Olympic, like before the China Olympic. That time they commissioned, the city commissioned him to write the whole music for whole concert. So we have 7 countries different musicians. So this is the one he wrote for me. It's called China, and the pipa with his ensemble, with all the keyboard, wind instrument, vocal, and it sounded very different than traditional pipa music. Can we hear a little bit? So this is I think the difference is you obviously see that's the rhythmic very different than Chinese music. That's to me that's very interesting. In some way there is a different style, and also I remember every time I play this, but this is kind of like a live recording. I played in the concert audience, a lot of audience kind of shouting, they loved it, because very, in the real concert, you see the power, all the bass sound, all the electronic sound. They thought it sounded like a very rock and roll sort of type. So that's kind of one influence to me as American minimalism music. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you have any other selections for us?
You want to hear some kind of a Bollywood thing?
Yeah, Bollywood. That's a great thing.
That's with the Shanghai Quartet. We did a project with collaborated with the Bollywood singer Asha, and played R.D. Burman's music. The whole album, which is a string quartet, and all the other plucking string instrument, which is I played everything, not only pipa. I played a little bit of guitar, a little bit of sitar, and all the sound instrument. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And Zakir Hussain played the tabla. So that was very fun project. That's my.
Oh gosh. Where did you learn how to play the sitar? Just along the way? Great singer too.
Yeah, well, and she that time I think she was 75. Wow. Yeah, and original film, or she did her voice, but this project she turned lower her voice, she changed a different key.
Oh wow.
So actually very interesting for us. We played the concert, we toured in Australia, and she was next day said, I didn't feeling well. Can we play different key?
Oh.
Okay, we can write.
Oh my goodness.
But to me, the music is R.D. Burman's music. I think it's very genius. You can hear kind of a pop, electronic, European, and folk, Indian tradition. Everything kind of a combination together. And as a musician, I really enjoy to play that.
The potpourri. World music.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, speaking of world music. In your fascinating ethnographic project from 2007 to 2009, you traveled to rural areas across China to perform with and record musicians and related performers who were still embedded in local communities as ritual specialists. So this fieldwork resulted in a documentary called Discovering a Musical Heartland, Wuman's Return to China. And later you arranged for several of these local performers to participate with you in Ancient Paths, Modern Voices, a 21-day festival on Chinese music and culture organized by Carnegie Hall. In an interview with PBS, you made an intriguing comment. I never knew when I was in China that Chinese music could be so powerful and so real. And I saw the life of those musicians. They lived in the countryside and the passion of their music. I want to be with them, I felt. I want to be real. So can you elaborate upon this? And maybe, we can look at some clips from that movie.
I think if you look at the clips, you're probably going to agree with me. Why I said that they are so real and really touched me. We can hear a little bit. And this is in center of China, Xi'an area. This family band is last name Zhang family band, and their tradition is shadow puppets. But their music, their vocal, very, very unique in that particular area.
Are we like blocking?
Yeah.
Are we blocking the screen?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can.
Huayin region, located on the banks of the Yellow River, was the capital of the West Han Dynasty in 206 BC. It has a very old tradition of shadow puppetry with a unique vocal style.
这是渭河，那边是黄河，那边是漯河。
Can you see? This is so cute. It's amazing. Yeah, it's a lot different than the academy. This is real life. This is real
This
life.
is real life. They're kind of like music and that's puppetry. That's family tradition.
Mhm.
But their daily life, they're farmers, and they often play in the village. In the weddings, festivals.
Yes.
Serve as, but to me, they're so real. That's I feel that they're passionate.
Yeah, that's why I meant like embedded in the local culture. I mean,
Yeah, but the concern is those older traditions. This is over 1,000 years old tradition. The concern was just they all have concern in this film. And I have a lot of talk with them, interview, because there's no next generation wanted to learn that tradition.
I can imagine.
Yeah, everywhere same thing.
Yeah. This, the Shanghai, this area of China, they have unbelievably great folk music traditions. Both women and men singing. And actually, I ordered this DVD for our library, so it's supposed to be coming in, so you can see the whole thing at some point. Well, that's related. Have you kept up with these musicians? Or?
I do. We still on the WeChat.
Oh wow!
I with their band leader. We WeChat each other. But I think this Chinese springtime, the Chinese New Year, February, they on the national TV. They collaborated with a rock singer in the Chunjie.
Oh wow!
Sort of, and so they suddenly become huge.
Oh
and
my
then
gosh!
All the Chinese now know there's this band. There is a this kind of music, but this was 2007.
So yeah,
10 years ago. Yeah, I visited them, and I'm hoping actually 2018. I right now I'm working on one to bring them to U.S. to tour here.
Because they're not, young.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the farming life is very tough. It's like
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, music is an important part of intangible cultural heritage, and some musical traditions face imminent demise, like these and many others. But in fact, China and many countries have, for a long time, attempted to save and promote local or so-called folk cultures through government policies. For example, creating the notion of national music, where all the traditions come together to represent a so-called unified and harmonious nation. That was a big plank in the 20th century, right, under Mao. Or the government, like today, promotes a certain brand, like Kun Opera. I was in Kunshan, so that's the brand for Kunshan City. Or Beijing Opera is another brand, if we were. So what do you think are the best ways to preserve the musical traditions of local regions and ethnic groups in China? Because we have Han Chinese music, when we have all these other traditions, everything from Tibet to, Inner Asia. Yeah, everybody, right? So local Southwest. So what should we do? What's the best ways to preserve these traditions? Government policy or what? Is it even possible in the light of the forces of globalization and commercialization? What would be the best ways of preserving these traditions, do you think?
That's a very serious question.
I know. I mean, certainly she's doing it herself.
I personally, I don't know how to answer. That's pretty heavy question. But my experience, especially in China, I think government involved definitely helps. Because of the situation in China, there's nothing individual you can do much more if not government involved.
Right.
But besides that, I think especially we have to let the younger generation to know that tradition. That's my feeling. And now it's a lot of kids basically they don't know those traditions. Even I mentioned I didn't know when I was in China. So first first to let people to hear. And like this group, because they on the national TV, and they suddenly all over the nation know this is this kind of music. So very fortunate for them, and I think government decided to give them money to ask them to teach. If anyone interested to learn from them.
Amazing,
So which is really help. But there's so many different other regions. They're still dying tons.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's my experience. Yeah. For me, I'm hoping for my side. And that's why I try to invite them to oversee to outside of China to introduce to different audiences and to tell them, see, we have this kind of music, very powerful, very earthy music, not always my pipa, Kunshan, kind of urban music, but that's just a small part of Chinese traditional music. But we have so many different kind. This is like a gypsy, Chinese gypsy group. So in that way, I think not only Western audience could have chance to hear, but also for back to China, they became a hero. So people can pay attention to them.
Yeah, because the gap between urban and rural is still pretty big.
Yeah.
Cultural.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you. Well, gosh, that's about, I don't know, it's so hard to choose from your many CDs, but which ones would you recommend for people new to the pipa or to your many collaborations? Gosh, I don't know. Hard to answer that one.
Yeah, it is hard to answer that one. There are so many. It's depending what you. For younger generation, for kids, I always recommend all those. I have the CD called "Our World in Song." That's sort of all the folk songs from all over the world. So I collaborate the pipa, guitar, mandolin, all the string plucking instrument. So it's kind of easy to first step for the kids to hear that sound of the instrument. But if you really wanted to know traditional music, so there's also CD available, which is mainly solo classical pipa music. But if you like contemporary music, wanted to hear composer write, so there are tons of like with the Shanghai Quartet, we have recording, and so-called ensemble, we also have recording with me and my piece as well. So there's so many different choices. Yeah.
So go online now and find. Well, gosh, that's about it. I don't know if you would like to say anything else, or should we open it up to?
Please.
Yes. Are your picks designed to go just one way or both ways?
Mostly one way. The picks, it's put on the fingernail side, and play out, not like a guitar. But we occasionally we play that way too. We that things, but mostly out.
And they're taped on? You have them taped on?
I have taped on, or this is plastic fingernails. This is like, we started to use this fingernail, this kind of material, and this kind of way to play during 50s. Before that, we all used natural fingernails. And we changed it because we changed the string from ancient times, silk strings, gut strings, nylon strings, and the 50s we changed it to steel strings, so louder.
There's a background. Take it.
Oh,
We almost put your neck, so we want to.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so, yep.
Did you play with this group at all?
This group?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow.
Is that in the film?
I'm sorry?
Is it in the film of you playing or no?
Very, very last footage I have to learn. So that's also very interesting. It's oral tradition. They have no music, no notation.
Yeah,
so every tune I ask them, they just sing to me. So I'm started writing.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh!
And then they play every time differently. even I write down. So it's very, very tradition that way, right? And I played with them. Yep.
it's so amazing seeing us here in North Carolina because we have fiddle banjo tradition, which is like the string band tradition, and just seeing this kind of that combination of the strings and fiddle, and then the narrative storytelling, it's kind of incredible. I would love to have them come to to North Carolina, play with the Carolina Chocolate Trumpet.
Wow! See, there we
This
go.
kind of way in which the folk rural music, I think, even though in a totally different place. But are you familiar with Abigail Washburn's music? Yeah. So I was curious, have you done collaborations with banjo?
She's on the latest Silk Road album.
Oh.
Yeah, but haven't been directly together, but we know each other now.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
gonna be
And just can I ask, are tunings very set on the pipa, or are there different?
Mostly tuning. This is like 19th century tuning. The set is ADEA. That's the tuning. So most of traditional piece tuning like that. But occasionally we change this. We change a different tuning. But even earlier, we say 12th century, 8th century, 12th century. That's totally different tuning. Much lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why was it raised?
Actually the structure, the shape of the instrument changed. If you see the Japanese biwa, they kept the old version of a pipa, and those frets we added much later. Early, even 19th century, we only have 12 bamboo frets right here and 6 on the top, and all the bottoms much later added 60, 50, 60, 70. Last year I went back and I went to shop, the instrument maker, and he asked me, "Oh, do you need to add another one?" He said, "Now the kids they want to add another one because they want to play other piece, So I said, "Oh no, I just want to keep this one." Yeah, so it kind of like flexible. People starting adding because they want to play some pieces.
Yeah, actually, her teachers and the teachers' teachers were involved very much in the evolution of this instrument. So over the 20th century, it changed quite a lot from to be able perhaps to be able to play more with modern Western orchestras sometime. I mean, wasn't there some adaptation so it would be heard, or I don't know, more playable with Western type of orchestras?
We added more frets, so we have a lot more notes, and we, the octave like 2.5, I think, or 3.5, and high is. That's the range of the instrument, and then also, of course, or half notes there, so it's easy to play any kind of music. Yeah.
Are these instruments pipas in the film here?
This is it's in Chinese called 乐琴. It's Hmong lute. This is another type of folk string instrument. Actually, this music, this tradition, in the old days, they told me actually they play pipa. I think their grandfather was play actually pipa and the fiddle, erhu together, because pipa kind of difficult for them. So they switched to some generation. Maybe their father they switched to this 乐琴. So and then they kept it easy to carry and in the village. So, but in the film, I played the pipa, which is also borrowed from local. You can see it's a very old pipa, which is they used to be played in the band.
Wow, that's a rare.
Rare
instrument.
Yes.
So you've played with the Silk Road Ensemble for many years now, which is an incredible concept and an incredible sort of cultural gift to audiences around the world. Can you describe what has surprised you most about playing with that ensemble?
Do you want to hear a little bit the CD? The second, maybe the David Blues. Sorry. On the album, yeah. Just give you example of just a little bit. You can hear. So this is a new piece. This is by David Bruce, the British composer. He used the material, basically a lot of Central Asian material, the music. I think, answer your question, that's kind of an example how my instrument work with the Western instrument, the character in this ensemble. But this is just one piece. We have a lot of very traditional, very sometimes the Persian kind of type, the different music. I think for me to work with the Silk Road Ensemble, basically, again, expand my repertoire. Kind of, again, I will mention the, kind of jump out the box of just the Chinese music. More become thinking of myself just a musician. I'm a musician, not, okay, I'm from China, I'm Chinese musician. I feel like it's already pushed that far away. I'm a musician, I can work, I can play any kind of music if it makes sense to me, if I'm comfortable. And also give people kind of a different life. And we can definitely, I can go play, which is tomorrow night, I will play very, very classical pipa music. And I could go.
And Bollywood.
And Bollywood.
Yeah.
So it's amazing for just a musical instrument. Actually, they could speak all kinds of language. It really depends on how you understand. Yeah.
That's good.
What other instruments do you play?
I play the Hmong lute and also liu qing, the smaller Chinese, kind of like a mandolin. Mostly all traditional string instrument.
And like guitar?
I tried the guitar a little bit. Yeah, and the banjo.
Banjo?
Yeah. I play banjo very, very Chinese way. And the left hand, a lot of Chinese vibrato, but it's fun.
What kind of banjo do you have?
The without frets, the older, yeah. Yes.
The instruments in the previous band seem very primitive, and yours is, I'd call it a work of art. And you said they used to play with a pipa. I'm presuming that was fairly primitive. The evolution of pipa must have been from fairly primitive instruments to what you had in your hands there.
Yeah. The band, they made their own instrument. Even the fiddle, they all made their own. And they grew to use like fish, what's called fish skin, as a group. So we use very modern. So a lot of right now we very familiar in the Chinese traditional instrument, which is dulcimer, zither, pipa, erhu, flute. It's kind of urban. We kept it very well. So the instrument maker keep that quality. So when they always give me, especially custom made, I want a specific kind of wood, but for them, they just, whatever they have, they just make an instrument. So sometimes we call, oh, that's not very in tune, but doesn't matter. That's, yeah. So slightly different, yeah.
At the upper end, tell me about those triangular shaped.
This one?
Are they frets or?
Yes, that's frets. And then
what are they made from?
This part we always use different materials. Sometimes ivory, jade, bone, horn, animal horn, cow horn, or wood. So we use different material. Not because of the sound quality, it's just the decoration of A lot of professional instruments that they like use bone or ivory because it's very, striking, stands out, beautiful. There's a 17th century pipa in Metropolitan Museum, and I get a chance to see that, and smaller, much smaller body, and then the whole back, they curved the like ivory, but like a mosaic, like a small piece of ivory, the whole body covered. Yeah, still there. If you have a chance to see that.
Well, I mean, there's the elite tradition of in the imperial courts. I mean, they had that would be a high,
Oh yeah.
work of art.
Yeah. It's like a lot of Persian instrument wood. They all have ivory, in the somewhere. Sometimes the frets use ivory.
Yes.
It's so very similar. Yeah.
Are there any Chinese instruments that are covered with a skin, the way the banjo is, like animal skin versus?
That's the fiddle.
Just the fiddles.
Yeah.
No lutes or stringed instruments.
No, this is a more silk and bamboo material and wood. Yeah.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit about tomorrow evening's program and your collaboration with the Shanghai Quartet, what we might expect to hear?
So Shanghai Quartet is not from Shanghai; they're from New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. They named their quartet Shanghai because the two brothers in the quartet, they are from Shanghai. And in '80s, when they were in Shanghai Conservatory, and they represent China went to London to have a string quartet competition. So that time they said that they don't have name, so they said, okay, let's just say Shanghai Quartet. And actually they got a award. They got number 1 or number 2, I forgot. And then they all came to this country, separately study music in mid-'80s. And then when they together graduated, they all together want to play quartet, and they decided, okay, let's keep the name Shanghai Quartet. So they are based in Montclair College University in New Jersey.
Oh, Montclair. Oh,
Montclair.
Yeah.
For tomorrow's program, we're on a tour right now. This is our 5th city, and then Saturday we're going to Toronto, and then Monday we're gonna go to Ithaca, Cornell, and then we're gonna go to Washington D.C. So this is pretty much kind of last portion of our tour. We've been in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Texas, the whole 3 weeks. Why we team up, because I've been playing with many string quartet, but I especially want to together with the Shanghai Quartet. First of all, we're schoolmates, second violin, and we were grew up studying Beijing, and when we were 13, we're classmates. We sit next to each other. And so kind of grew up together as a musician, young musician. So it's very nice we talk about a long time, we want to work together. So finally we have this project. We want to focus on only Chinese, ancient and modern. So tomorrow program we have Chinese folk songs, very popular folk songs from a different region of China, play on string quartet, and then I will play very classical pipa piece, and then we gonna North Carolina premiere Red Lantern, which is another piece by composer Zhao Jiping. Any of you know Zhao Jiping? Zhao Jiping is, if you know the movie Hong Gao Liang, there's a song he wrote, 妹妹你大胆地往前走. So we call him John Williams of China. He wrote many movie track. Work with the Farewell My Concubine, To Live, that's all Chinese movie. And so the music, we asked his son also a composer, to arrange his movie music, TV, and for us, for quartet and pipa. And the second half we have composer Zhou Long, and he teaches at the Missouri, and write for string quartet piece, Sound of Qing, which is again use the old material to write for string quartet. And then at the last we're gonna play Tandem, composer Tandem's pipa, mini pipa concerto with a string quartet, which is very interesting program and very dramatic. We really enjoyed. Kind of take audience to go to journey different time, different days of China.
There are still tickets left.
Yeah. Yes, you have a question.
So you spoke of how important it is to be exposed to all these musical and cultural contexts that the pipa is capable of. So do you have any plans for the near or far future to maybe return to China and maybe teach aspiring musicians about different ways that the pipa can be played, or are you interested in continuing that type of work in the United States?
That's a great question. Actually, I am going back to China often now. I am have a special visiting professor position in Beijing Conservatory, Shanghai Conservatory, and the Zhejiang Conservatory, which is my hometown. And then apparently next month I'm going back to Wuhan Conservatory and Xi'an Conservatory to give master class, and to it's kind of very busy. I want to kind of to exchange my idea and to younger generation, younger pipa player or younger Chinese musician. So yeah, I am.
She does. She is. Is there anyone else? Eric, do you? I guess that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Produced by Duke University, online at duke.edu.